this is not prophecy, but prediction. If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have made it much longer. You know I can. I didn't. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics. Genetically developed vaccines. DNA database tracking. DNA chips. Get this one. 1997. Gene-based pharmaceuticals. Transmitting genetic instructions for a disease process. How about this one? You ready for it? Wait for it. Artificial intelligence to determine gene patterns. 27 years ago, who had heard about AI? Apparently they had. How about this one? Robots for doing genome sequencing. And then, this one blew me away. Using recombinant DNA for making spike proteins. 1997? It gets even worse. Smart homes. They have a whole chapter on smart homes / smart cities. This one will absolutely floor you. It did me. In 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices. This stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. And last but certainly not least, vaccination programs. I'm sorry, I gotta chuckle, because if I don't, I'll cry. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997.
Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody. Hope you're doing well. So, Tuesday I did try to upload the part 2 episode of The Noses. They every single time, the funny hat people, sneaky people. You know. We all know it is what it is. But it was up for maybe a total of 5 minutes before YouTube took that one down. So they're obviously on to me and sitting in wait, just waiting for me to upload these episodes. So I'm just gonna hold off on that one for a little bit. But anyways, I will let you know the day prior of me uploading it, just so you can get there early. That way, if it does get taken down, at least you'll get a chance to watch it. But in the meantime, we'll just do another clips from the cutting room floor today. So yeah, let's just see what we got today, guys. We are live.
This is the last Tartarian clock that still works to this day and is 100% evidence that our ancestors knew the Earth was flat and stationary. Now I want you to watch till the end because this is going to blow your mind. This is the Prague astronomical clock, and it is perfectly synchronized with true astrology from our flat stationary Earth, just like all of our ancestors told us. Now what? This clock perfectly tracks sidereal time, solar time, moon phases, the position of celestial bodies, and even zodiac signs, all in perfect synchronization, all without any electricity or satellite calibration. Now the clock's design encodes a geocentric model, placing the Earth at the center with celestial bodies moving around it in perfect predictable cycles. So how would this clock perfectly predict to this day perfect planetary alignments, eclipses, and even zodiac transits? The Earth was spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles per hour, hurtling through space at millions of miles per hour. It would be impossible to predict these things. All of our ancestors told us that the stars are what move above us and that we are stationary. It's like the Egyptian depiction of the Earth. We have a flat, stationary Earth and the stars on the firmament. Now, I want you to take notice at the middle part of this clock. This is the moon map, which is the real map of the Earth. Quite literally the flat Earth map, guys. And recently they've destroyed this by putting a globe on this clock. Literally how they cover up the real origins of humanity and our true history. The absolute disgrace this is. This clock is built on the fact that stars rise and set in repeatable patterns, that the heavenly bodies move above us. observable for centuries and centuries. This is why if you point a camera at Polaris, which is the North Star, which doesn't move, it stays fixed and stationary 24/7, 365 days of the year in the night sky, it doesn't move. The stars around it do perfect circles constantly. Again, not possible if we're spinning, also orbiting the fucking sun and hurtling through space. You would see the stars do all sorts of crazy patterns. You just need to think about it. That's all you need to do. Astrology only works as perfect as it does because the stars are what move in perfect cycles. And literally all of our ancestors knew this. All of them. You guys believe NASA, which in Hebrew means to deceive. Like, it's insane. So brainwashed. These astronomers had no computers, yet they predict eclipses, planetary returns, solstices, and even retrogrades with shocking accuracy that still works to this day. This has been running for over 600 years, and probably more than that. Do not build a cosmic machine like this unless you know the divine order of this universe. This clock is a witness of truth, standing for centuries in a quiet defiance of the heliocentric lie. And the stars tell the exact same story every single night. If we were moving, the story would change, but it never does.
It's true. And the globe theory is introduced so early, that's why it's hard for you to...
Crashed out on the radio this morning. He right, though.
Absolutely not. We've been learning about this shit in school for decades. What the fuck do you mean you don't believe in that shit? Are you some type of conspiracy theorist or something? So let me get this straight. You really believe that in 1969, when televisions were still in black and white, and folks were still using rotary fucking phones, and most new cars sold in the United States didn't even have power windows or fucking air conditioning, that we just strapped two cowboys into what was essentially a fucking Coke can with a Chevy small block attached to it and just launched them motherfuckers out into orbit on nothing more than a hope and a fucking dream, and somehow managed to land that glorified bottle rocket safely on an uncharted lunar surface, where they then got out and played hopscotch for a few hours, and then they got right back inside that motherfucker, and then somehow managed to launch themselves back off the goddamn moon with no infrastructure. And then a few short weeks later, they landed safely back on Earth. You really fucking believe that that happened? Goddamn, you're a gullible son of a bitch. I bet you still believe in fucking Santa Claus, you goofy bastard.
And that's the thing, though, like, when you put it like that, it does sound absolutely fucking ridiculous, man. Like, it's just that simple. It's
Let's talk about borax. So borax is sodium tetraborate, and what borax does is it pulls fluoride out of the body. In the 1980s, there was a fellow who was going around giving borax to everybody in Australia, and what he noticed was that anybody who had osteoporosis, arthritis, or any types of pain and inflammation, it began to go away as soon as they gave him a little bit of borax. So what he did was he went to a company and said, I want to put borax in a pill so I can give it out to people as a solution. All of a sudden, a couple days later, borax gets banned in 32 different countries because told to be dangerous. And it was dangerous to the profits of Big Pharma, who want to prescribe people pills for arthritis and osteoporosis medications. So just a simple little pinch of borax can actually go a long way. There's a great documentary called The Borax Conspiracy, which was wiped off of PubMed, just so people are aware. And they can also go to earthclinic.org and look that one up on the uses of borax. And it's interesting because borax is one of the most safest substances on the earth. It's been used since 1888. There are books of people healing animals, chickens, pigs, humans, all kinds, with borax. It's the precursor to boron. If you don't have boron, then you become... You got it. You can see that one. But anyways, the whole thing with the borax is just they've been scaring people into telling that sodium tetraborate is going to get them. The same poison control who didn't tell anybody not to take the vaccines is the same one who says borax is dangerous. And why do they say borax is dangerous? Because it's dangerous to profits.
That's 100%. Oh, by the way, I'm not a doctor. This is in no way medical advice. This show is for entertainment purposes only. And disregard all of that.
I have friends, advisors, and business associates who say I should not tell you this. But this information is important, and I think you should know it. So in school today, we're focused on a thing called SAT, or Scholastic Aptitude Testing. We want to find out how good you are at reading, writing, and arithmetic. Very important skills. And depending on how well you do with SAT, the next thing they focus on is professional aptitude testing, whether you should be a doctor, a lawyer, fire chief, secretary, or whatever. It's a professional training. But what school fails to focus on or train people on is a thing what I call financial intelligence. We never discuss the subject of money in schools. So what do I mean by financial intelligence? Well, if we gave $10,000 to 100 people, 80 of them, or 80%, would have nothing left at the end of a year. 16% with the same $10,000 might have $10,050, what you would get by putting it in a bank. And 4%, given that same $10,000, would have anywhere from $20,000 to $1 million or more. And that's what I mean by financial intelligence. So when we go to school, we learn to read these things, but we never learn to read these, financial statements or annual reports. We never learn financial literacy in school.
That's a very good point. I've been trying to make this point for a long time. We should be learning that at a very young age, not about a fucking globe.
Oh, the fucking medical industry is based on a complete lie. John D. Rockefeller bought all the major universities, all the major media companies early with all of his money, and basically created his own curriculum for medicine. And the only way that you could get grants is by using their curriculum for medicine. And their curriculum for medicine was based on what? Pharmacology. And what was pharmacology rooted in? The extraction of substances from oil. But then they started to realize, holy shit, these medicines that we're extracting from oil are actually creating cancer. And they use all of their power, they use all of their media influence to debunk all forms of natural therapy. And any doctor that dared speak up against them, do you know what happened to them? They were completely discredited and their lives were destroyed, and some of them were assassinated and killed. Again, whatever you need in life will control you. And if you think you need your pills, you will be controlled by the pharmaceutical companies and the people that control them. Anyway, fucking hell, just calm down.
Yeah, that's just it, you know. We've beat this one to death already, but it's...
As I've stated publicly on many occasions, there is no definitive scientific proof through real-world observation that carbon dioxide is responsible for any of the slight warming of the global climate that has occurred during the last 300 years since the peak of the Little Ice Age. If there were such a proof, through testing and replication, it would have been written down for all of us to see. The contention that human emissions are now the dominant influence on climate is simply a hypothesis, rather than a universally accepted scientific theory. It is therefore correct, indeed, verging on the compulsory in the scientific tradition, to be skeptical of those who express certainty that the science is settled and the debate is over. But there is certainty beyond a reasonable doubt that CO2 is the building block for all life on Earth, and that without its presence in the global atmosphere at sufficient concentration, this would be a dead planet. Yet today our children and our publics are taught that CO2 is a toxic pollutant that will destroy life and bring civilization to its knees.
And that's just it. And something about the ego of these college kids doesn't let them see the forest through the trees.
I believe that the firmament is starting to break. I really feel like that's why there's been a biblical earth awakening. God's waking people up to how he designed his earth so that we know what's going on. Twice now when I've gone outside early in the morning before the sky was covered, I saw the actual sky, which I've realized I probably haven't seen in a year or so. The bluest I've ever seen it, and what looked like clouds, but they weren't. They almost looked like defrosting. They were completely still, and it looked like if you've ever left a water bottle out in your car when it was cold outside and then it starts to defrost, it looked like that. And then there were gray and other clouds passing by. And now we're starting to see multiple reports in warm states of ice falling from the sky being very difficult to break or melt and damaging property. When you look up close at these pieces of ice, they do not look like normal ice. They have almost an opalescent shimmer as well as incredible detail.
And this shit drop out of the fucking sky, bro. ice, a big chunk of ice, bro. From out fucking nowhere. I just want you to look at the fucking details of that shit. Oh, I tried to jump on this ice.
Then we had this news story come out of Florida about a giant chunk of ice going through the roof of a house. We have waterfalls falling out of the sky, it seems. And this is gonna sound silly to a lot of people, and trust me, I get it. But this is how the movie Chicken Little starts. A predictive program kids movies so that we're likely not going to see it, but it's there. What happens is Chicken Little starts seeing chunks of ice fall from the sky that are part of the sky ice, and at one point, one of the chunks of ice takes up one of his friends. That's the ice, and yes, it's a hexagon. So everybody is looking for the friend, and they eventually find him when there's an alien invasion. They go onto the UFO and they find the friend in like an experiment test tube thing, and he comes back and he's a little bit different. And then of course we find out that the aliens didn't mean harm and that they just came to visit. To me, this sounds a lot like them using blue beam to cover up the rapture. Also keep in mind, the word used in Revelation for hailstones actually translates to sky crystals. Remember, we don't fear the prophecy, we just get spiritually ready, and that's why I'm updating you guys. This is not meant to put fear in anybody, this is meant to spiritually prepare. This is for entertainment purposes only. I don't even know what sky ice is.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna pass on that one.
The United States is the most lawless and dangerous country in the world by far. You cannot believe how much misinformation we get every single day. Because I have advised more than 100 governments around the world. I have seen things with my own eyes. I've seen US CIA coups with my own eyes. Governments lie, but superpowers make super lies. And if you're running the largest war machine in the world, hey, you are going to lie all the time. The entire Iraq war was not because they thought there were weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction was the outcome of a focus group inside the Pentagon. How are we going to sell this war to the American people? Yeah. Who made the decision 2 days ago that ATACMS can shoot deep inside Russia? Another brilliant move. We don't even know if the President of the United States is compos mentis right now. We have a deep state that takes these decisions, not a word of explanation to the American people. It's all lies. And I've seen it all through my life because I've been advisors to prime ministers and to presidents and to central bank governors and to some of the wonderful people on this panel. And I've seen a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's always trying to find justification for another war. Always.
You now, because they can translate like Hitler's speech. They've got Hitler's speeches that Hitler gave in German. And you get to see it in English, and you're like, oh.
The German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation. France to the French, England to the English, America to the Americans, and Germany to the Germans. We are resolved to prevent the settlement in our country of a strange people which was capable of snatching for itself all the leading positions in the land, and to oust it, for it is our will to educate our own nation for these leading positions. We have hundreds of thousands of very intelligent children of peasants and of the working classes. We shall have them educated. In fact, we have already begun, and we wish that one day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the state together with our educated classes. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish, and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation.
That's the thing, man. When you listen to his speeches in English, all of a sudden you're like, huh.
So I'm a Canadian in the US right now, and when Charlie's assassination happened, I genuinely thought, like, am I going to have to go home? Because this is the type of major event that you'd think could destabilize society. You know, people hitting the streets, and maybe if it got real bad, maybe even a civil war. I think we all thought about it. But I genuinely remember it hitting me that day, like, no, we don't have to worry. Because it's the people that you have to worry about that are celebrating right now. And the people that are pissed off are supporters of Charlie, which means they have deeply strong morals and they have a God. So when you piss off the left, they get violent in the streets, and we've seen it, and don't act like we haven't. And when you piss off the right, evidently, they hold prayer vigils. Seriously. Name one business that's had to board up their windows. Name one act of violence. There's been no looting, no maniacs in the streets. And it's not because we're not pissed off. It's because we're not the same. And this whole situation perfectly shows the true concern. And the media has convinced so many people that it's the radical right-wing extremists that you have to worry about. Okay, where are these people? What are they doing that's so dangerous? If I can be really honest, they're in some deep south small town, honestly minding their own business. Okay? These radicals on the left are out in society among us everywhere. And not even secretly celebrating the death of Charlie. Like being so open about it. These people have no honor, no integrity, no shame, no morals. And honestly, can you really be that surprised? These are the same people who have no problems casually castrating children and unaliving their babies. These are the issues they care the most about. But if you want to keep believing CNN when they tell you that it's the right-wing lunatics that are the problem, I guess that's your choice. And I guess not everyone was meant to wake up and see the truth.
It's very true. Everything that he said is true. And I pretty much summarized that a few episodes ago.
The Rothschilds rewrote the Bible to force-feed Zionism to Christians. In 1909, the Oxford University Press published Schofield's reference Bible despite him having little academic training. Who was Oxford's biggest Zionist donor? The Rothschilds. This edited Bible teaches that the Jews are the chosen people to reclaim the land of Israel despite the costs. This was psychological warfare to brainwash Christians, and it indoctrinated past generations to believe a lie. Follow for more uncensored truth.
Yeah. Pretty much, guys. Pretty much.
So if we go back to the 1900s and we look at the building of the mental asylums, they were extremely large and had thousands of rooms. So then you start to wonder, why would someone build a mental asylum that large in the 1900s? Not to mention the resources that it would take. And especially when you look at the early 1900s, people were only living in little houses and shacks made from wood. Then you have these huge mental asylums, expertly made, where they were locking up thousands of people who went against the narrative. And can you guess what the narrative was? Well, it's the life that you live today. When they started to first introduce taxes and those things we get given into our arms. And when people would go against the narrative, they would get locked up in these mental asylums. And it would be put out on radio broadcasts as well, that if anyone went against the system, they would be locked up. And if you actually look back, they actually got rid of a lot of the population back in that time who went against the system. So if you actually go and look at the mental asylums in the 1900s, you will start to see the buildings and their size and their structure, which doesn't really make any sense for that time period. And then the majority of them were actually demolished during World War I. The majority in England were demolished, and there is very few left because they wanted to hide the evidence. And if you think of the mud flood as well, these mental asylums started to increase massively after the 1800s, which is when the mud flood took place around those times. Which is funny because then you have to question, were these people put in these asylums because they spoke out about the mud flood and the forgotten history of Tartaria?
I've wondered that myself, and I'm pretty sure that's, yeah.
This is now the backbone of the American economy, and this is the guy who runs it, and it's not good. OnlyFans is by far the most profitable company in America. The company generates $156 million per employee. Compare that with all these other companies that we think of as powerhouses like NVIDIA, the chip maker, or Alphabet, Google, Walt Disney, Walmart. Not even close. And so just think about the implications. What happens to society when we have an economy built off of getting normal people to do and consume adult content? Well, first we get mass loneliness, where men are dropping thousands of dollars on OnlyFans to just feel some kind of human connection with women. And on the other side, the girls are getting their soul sucked out of them. This particular creator says that she feels dead inside, doesn't feel any attraction to men anymore. Yeah, men and women don't want to have actual intimacy anymore. Look at the numbers. Only 37% of adults are having sex weekly or more, compared to 55% in 1990. In fact, the lack of social connection is more deadly than smoking 15 cigarettes a day, or drinking, or not working out, being obese, and much, much worse than air pollution. And just to top it all off, the #1 donor of AIPAC is the CEO of OnlyFans. Okay, Leonid Radvinsky, the billionaire owner of OnlyFans, according to internal documents, he and his wife pledged $11 million to AIPAC, the most of anyone listed.
I mean, is Iran a bigger threat or is OnlyFans?
That is a great question, Tucker. You guys let me know what you think.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You got to avoid porn like the plague, man. It is soul poison. Nothing good comes from consuming it.
How will they be able to accomplish the 15-minute city plan if everybody disagrees with what they're doing? Well, they will actually put locksteps into place first before they enact the 15-minute city. And usually they will either do it with a pandemic or a climate change lockdown. So the first step to the 15-minute cities is to introduce digital IDs. That's where they take all of our IDs, everything that you live off of, and they centralize it in one ID where one entity can just shut it off. So now they can control you through that way. But you still have the ability to move and go and buy whatever you want. Next step is CBDCs, which is the central bank digital currencies, which means they can see every single thing that you purchase. So instead of going to the store and them just seeing you spend $150 at the store, they will be able to see everything that you bought. Then they will enact carbon credits on food, travel, airplanes, hotels. Like you've already seen it. If you go and book an airplane or if you go book a hotel room or whatever. And in the UK now they're introducing carbon credits on food labels so that you can get trained on what a carbon credit looks like.
100%.
Then they will either enact another pandemic or a climate change lockdown through bullshit science. And because all the countries already signed the WHO pandemic treaty, we all have to be in line with what they want. And they will shut you down in those 15-minute cities. Now, if your mayor has signed on to the 15-minute cities and has received funding so that your place becomes a 15-minute city, you will see a lot more cameras around in your area, and it will be the perimeter of the 15-minute city. And now that you're digitalized completely, meaning you need your phone just to go scan something, you need your phone just to have the digital ID, just to have the CBDCs, now you have something called a wearable. And they will probably make wearables even more prominent so that you can be tracked. So now if you cross over a certain line, those cameras can catch you. And now you're in an area that you shouldn't be. And that is how they will enact the 15-minute cities. Now, let's say you live on the West End and you work on the East End and you're like, how will I get there? Well, first, they will see if you can work from home. If you can, you're working from home. If you can't, you can go on UBI, Universal Basic Income, because they want everybody on a welfare state because AI is taking most of our jobs.
The only way it works.
And if you can't and you're useful, you will get a pass. And that pass will allow you to go to work and from work. And that's it. You're not allowed to stop anywhere. You will need permission for that. And they will literally use this kind of logic in the name of climate science or whatever else that they come up with. That's all bullshit. Does that kind of make a little bit more sense? Which is why we're all talking about how dangerous these locksteps are for them to finally get their end goal, which is to imprison humanity into 15-minute cities.
Yeah, just look at the UK and then look at the process of what Mark Carney is doing to Canada right now. It's all going in this direction. It's undeniable.
Digital ID. What could possibly go wrong? So do you remember about a week or so ago, maybe 10 days ago, Keir Starmer was out in India meeting Modi, the Indian president or prime minister, and a load of their top officials, and extolling the benefits of digital ID and saying what a fabulous rollout they'd had in India, which has their nationwide digital ID system called Aadhaar or Aadhaar, depending how you pronounce it. Well, listen to how well it's going. Thieves or crypto thieves or digital thieves or cyber thieves or whatever you want to call them, cyber criminals, are currently claiming that they have stolen the entire database, 815 million people's details, names, addresses, identity confirmations, bank details, etc., etc., etc. They've cracked the code and they've got the entire database, and they're currently selling the entire database for $80,000 at a time. Now, whether that's been verified or not, I don't know, but that story is doing the rounds. So just how secure is it going to be? Just how well is it going to work? As I've said this so many times, when every single piece of information about your life your passport and your driving license and your NHS records and your criminal record and your bank details and every transaction of everything that you buy and your gas bill and your electricity bill and your travel records and your flight records and your car tax and your council tax and anything you've ever done criminally, any arrest record, absolutely everything, any hospital appointments, anything about you at all is all held in one place. How safe and how secure is that going to be? Do you trust the people running these systems? Do you trust them to keep your data secure? We get data breaches, data thefts every single day. And sometimes we get really, really big ones. There's been lots just in the last year in this country alone. So how well is it going to work when every single facet of your life is held in one place? It's just happened in India. Go and look it up. And the ironic thing is that Starmer was just out there holding them up as an example of how well the system could work. Yeah, right, Keir. We believe you.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone's looking to India to see how well something can work. I mean, give me a fucking break.
1920 is when everything pretty much changed. They started changing every single thing. They started removing certain parts of the history. They started rewriting the history. 1920s is about that time. Educational system started changing everything. Rockefeller educational system started changing everything. So if you find books, you want to find books before 1920s. Because if you don't find books before 1920s, you're usually being told a bunch of nonsense. And you look at a lot of the free energy books too, and everything related to the ether, that's before 1920s. The ether was removed from the periodic table after 1908. 1908, that was removed off the periodic table. These are all terms of the Rockefeller educational system, coming up with terms to debunk the truth and debunk what we were once connected to. Then when you get rid of ether, you get rid of everything related to the fifth element and the quantum. You get rid of all of that. And then you make up a whole new narrative and you remove all that so that when you can't explain something, you just say, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's just it, you know. So if there's one thing that we can take away from today's episode, it's that the majority of the world is completely brainwashed. And we've seen how early the indoctrination starts. As soon as you're able to enter the classroom, you're presented with a globe, you're presented with facts in a book, and you are then told to memorize these facts, okay? And if you don't memorize these facts, you're gonna get a failing grade, okay? Which means that you are stupid. Most people don't want to be stupid, most people want to be just like their peers, so they're going to follow suit. That's just the way it works, right? And the Rockefellers were very aware of how this works, you know what I mean? So that's why they took over the educational system. But they made sure to get you early. But you know, it's something we don't already know, you know? Let's get the women into the workforce. Once we do that, then we can have complete control over the mind of the child, right? Because they really want you in there early, like kindergarten, right? We got to get the kids in there early. And that's why it's so difficult for you to resist this stuff. And that's why it's so difficult for you to question this stuff as you get older into an adult, because it's been so cemented into your mind that you believe it to be fact. Even though your own eyes and instincts are telling you this doesn't make any sense. If you rewatch this whole episode, there's nothing in here that you can debunk, okay? So this is all fact. None of this is lies. Sorry, this is all lies. This is for entertainment purposes only. Just disregard that last statement. But you know what I'm trying to say. And it's been a lot of locksteps, guys. It's been a lot of this stuff. It's been a century of this stuff, pretty much, to get us to the point where we are now. It's amazing to me how many people, it's like the Matrix said, some are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will give their life to protect it. And it's so true. You've probably got a sibling, you've probably got a cousin or a parent or a grandparent that there's no talking to, there's no reasoning with them. You can present them with facts and they still choose to believe the lie because they don't want to be presented anything that comes from a right wing or a conservative or a Christian viewpoint. They can't accept that because, as we've seen in there, they just are trained and indoctrinated that way. That's the whole thing, right? But it's wild that some people fell for it so easily and some people are just so brainwashed. I don't know if they're ever going to wake up. I don't think they're going to, personally. And here's the issue. This brings us all the way back to the digital ID, okay? This isn't something that's a conspiracy theory. This is coming, guys, okay? It's happening in the UK first, and it's being ready to happen in Canada. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, was the former governor of the Bank of England, okay? This guy sits on the board of the WEF, This guy is about as compromise can get. This guy has more conflicts of interest than any other prime minister has ever had. And we're talking hundreds of them, okay? This shit should be illegal, man. But it's not. And here he is getting us ready with this whole new green agenda. And if you read his budget, the Canadian budget that was just presented to Parliament yesterday, I think it was, the day before, it's all a bunch of green grift bullshit in there, guys. This is exactly how it's going to be presented to us. There's no denying any of this, guys. All we can do is resist at this point. But I just feel like, aside from what I'm doing, presenting people with this information in a very unbiased way, as unbiased as I can, this is all I can really do. But you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink, as the saying goes. And unfortunately, nobody's thirsty, man. No one's thirsty for knowledge. Nobody's thirsty for the truth. They think they already know it. It's wild how many people will argue with you and they will bring up CBC talking points or MSNBC talking points or CNN talking points and think that that is all they need to do for research. Oh, I watched the news today, I'm informed. Unfortunately, there was a time where that used to be true, but it's just not anymore, man. And like trying to convince your grandparents or someone, or even your parents, someone from an older generation, to get their news online, that scares the hell out of them. They can't get it through their head that they're being lied to, even though on some level they have to know that they're being lied to. They just have to. What is so common sense to people like you and I, like everything that we just watched today, it seems like it's common sense. Like, yeah, I already know this. And how could you not know this? All you gotta do is open your eyes, open your ears, listen and look, and you can see that these people don't have your best interest in mind, man. They never have, So yeah. But that's what I got today, guys. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section about any of this stuff. How do you feel? Where are we going from here? And yeah, I'll see you again in the next one. But until then, 80 Canadian. Signing off.